Okay, we're recording English 103. This is week 7. And we're going to focus primarily today on jib fouls. But just as a refresher, last week we introduced and talked about logos, ethos, and pathos. Pop quiz. Ethos, remember, that has to do with credibility, believability, likability, kind of the ethics behind it. Pathos is emotion, anything to do with your emotions and emotional appeal. And logos is an appeal to logic or reasoning, often using statistics and or facts. Now, in our resources this week, there are, resources on those items if you want. Once again, to give you a review, I am hoping through the work last week that you are now familiar enough with ethos, logos, and pathos that you'll be able to apply them, because the next item on our list is jib fouls. Now, jib fouls is actually based in the pathos appeal. So for jib fouls, what you're going to be doing in this assignment is you're actually going to have to go up here in the resources and find the jib fouls resource. So let me find it up here. A lot of these are hidden from you right here. So jib fouls resource. And this is the actual article that he wrote. Now, a couple of things I want you to be mindful of. I'll give you a PDF of it, which is the exact thing we took it from. We took it from an anthology, which is from another book. It's a print edition. So when you go to cite this, you're going to have to cite using this article. When you go to cite, remember, you're going to be choosing anthology. It is from an anthology. And then the first couple pages are going to provide you with all the information that you need. So it tells you not only the author, right, but the title, the actual title, and you can also see the title up there. You don't need due date or any of that kind of stuff, but it also tells you what edition, the editors, and the copyright. Now, I kind of maybe misled you there for a minute. The author is actually the editors of the anthology, because an anthology is a collection of articles written by various authors. So the author of your article will be jib fouls. Editors are found right here, and that will be something you have to fill in on this because it is an anthology. Now, the article itself starts right here. The title of the article is Advertising's 15 Basic Appeals. Now, jib fouls wrote this particular article based on originally kind of some research done by a psychologist named Henry Murray. And he talks about and describes in this article 15 emotional appeals that advertisers try to use, or in his words, they exploit. In other words, the premise is, the theory is, or his theory was that advertisements actually try to subvert or work around your logical reasoning. As you become older and more seasoned and a little more savvy, your brain kind of employs, you're always looking for the logical reasoning, and they're trying to persuade you, so they want to work around that, a little sub-rational emotional appeal. Because when decisions are made emotionally, they're not always, and in fact, very rarely is there logic reasoning with that, okay? So it's kind of trying to subvert that part of your brain. That is the premise of his particular article. Now, it talks about emotional appeals and gives you some really good background. You're going to want to read this, because when I talk about the assignment, part of the assignment is you're going to have to summarize what is he trying to get the reader to understand. So he's talking about what he's trying to get the reader to understand in that section there. And then he goes in to talk about the 15 basic appeals that are used in advertising. And then there's a list of them. Here are the 15 he talks about. And then he goes on to explain and give examples of each one. So like right here, 15 appeals, he goes into detail and explains what each one represents and samples from each one. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a premise here in the fact that I think a lot of the examples in jib fouls are pretty dated. His concept sets are very applicable. For example, the need for autonomy and the need for escape, and these identifiers that he has created are very, very relevant in advertising still today. Unfortunately, when this article is written, at the time of this article, you guys are much, much too young to probably even be aware of some of the ads that he is referencing within these. So for example, as we go through and when he explains them, he does a great job of explaining. Unfortunately, a lot of these ads are quite a bit older, from 80s, 70s even. So you may not catch the references on these. So it'll be doubly important that you have a good understanding of the explanation of what it is. Now, some of them I feel are self-explanatory. For example, the need for attention. Okay, you're trying to draw attention to yourself, the need to draw attention to yourself. To me, that's kind of self-explanatory, but some of them are not quite as obvious. And so you are going to want to read in detail kind of his description of them and make sure that you have a good understanding of them, because not only will you have to summarize some of this for your assignment, within your ad, part of your essays, you're going to have to identify at least 2 from these appeals of Jim Fowles that are contained within your ad. So you're going to be looking at your ad for your essay and identifying, okay, which appeals are logos, ethos, pathos, what elements are they used? But then within pathos, which needs are being utilized, are being demonstrated? In other words, how are they using them to persuade you? So although I could go through and read all of this to you, this is not really what I want to do. I would like you to have this list in front of you, because I want to pop up just a couple of ads and see if we can identify some of them. So have these 15. Like I said, if you don't know what they are, I can try to explain them better to you. So need for sex, that's to me kind of self-explanatory. This is where they would use titillating pictures, kind of nudity. Probably the best example of this one would be the Victoria's Secret advertisements that you see. That would be demonstrating that. Need for affiliation is the need to belong, to be affiliated with something. Need to nurture, this is your innate need to take care of something that is defenseless or smaller, things like animals, babies, children. So my point to you is some of these may be very obvious to you, some of them may not. But I want you to take a look at this list. Let me quick go through the rest of them. Need for guidance, this is kind of like when you look for a parent figure or an expert in helping you guide a decision in something. Need to aggress, this is kind of where you may, aggress is often in a negative form like violence or anger, but there are other ways also to be aggressive that are acceptable that are used in advertising. So for example, aggress means you want to get a little more oomph, or quite often you might hear someone talk about there's a lot of horsepower under the hood. Okay, so in other words, you can go fast. There used to be a gasoline that it would put more oomph in the gas tank. In other words, allow your car to increase speed quicker. Okay, that's a type of need to aggress. The need to achieve is exactly what it sounds like. You want to achieve better than someone else. Need to accomplish something. The need to dominate means you would be the best. In other words, you're better than all the rest. So for example, Budweiser used to be known as the king of beers. In other words, better than all the beers, right? That was their advertising gimmick. The need for prominence. This is like you have a branding type thing. Need for prominence means you're high and above. This would be things like Rolex. You don't buy a Rolex because it keeps really good time. You buy a Rolex for prominence. These are handbags quite often. You see handbags advertised. Used to be a big deal. My sister and my mother would love to buy a Couch purse because it was a brand, or Coach, I'm sorry, I say Couch because that's what it's called. Coach purse because that brand name. There are other brands quite often that are associated with prominence. Things like, oh, I'm trying to think of other bags. So this is where when you go to buy things, you're very conscious of a brand to be above for prominence. Need for attention, I've already talked about that. That's you want to bring attention to yourself. Need for autonomy, this is your need for independence, to be self-sufficient. The need to escape, exactly what it sounds like. You want to escape from somewhere. Vacation advertisements quite often focus on this. There used to be a great one back in the day. Calgon had a commercial that said, Calgon, take me away. It was an advertisement for bubble bath. You put it in the bubble bath and you could kind of think somewhere else, pretend you're somewhere else for a while. The need to feel safe, to protect. There might be something that so for example, when we bought a security system, ADT security system, that was an advertisement they had, burglar proof, those kinds of things, need to feel safe. Aesthetic sensation, this is how something looks beautiful, your aesthetic senses, maybe smell, touch, all those kinds of things, beauty in general. And then satisfy curiosity. This is quite often they'll post things, I wonder if, what if, and then it's kind of like questions. So for example, a very effective advertisement for older people, even though I'm not quote unquote older, I'm not ready to retire, you start thinking about those things at a certain stage in life. And so very effective advertisement is a couple talking to each other. I wonder, have we planned for our retirement well? I wonder, will there be enough money for us? And of course, then that's an advertisement for an investment company, and to do investments to build your retirement portfolio. And then physiological needs. This is the need for food, drink, water. These are things like, you might not be hungry at all, but when you're laying in bed at 11 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden Taco Bell commercial comes on, and all of a sudden, wow, I could use a taco. I'm hungry suddenly, right? Those are the items. And again, I'm aware I'm going through this very briefly. However, you need to read the article in depth to get a really good understanding of these. They're not long, but I want you to have a really good idea of them. I was going to take some time and browse some TV commercials, but I don't think we're going to have enough time to do that today because of the short class time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back instead. And so you need to read the article. And then what I want you doing is I want you to write the summary about it. And within it, I want you to include these items. So you come into the assignment. Oops, sorry, I got to scroll down. Ugh, this computer's driving me nuts. Sorry, guys. So the assignment, Jim Fowles assignment, you have to read the article, and I showed you where to find it in resources. Then you go into the assignment, and the instructions are contained in there. So for this assignment, what you're going to be doing is you read that article, and then I want you to write a summary of his argument. So he's actually trying to convince you, a reader, to take something away from the essay. What's he trying? What does he want you as the reader to take away from his writing? What was his purpose? What was he trying to talk to the reader about? So that's your summary, and that's maybe a paragraph or so. And I also want you to make sure you use the ACTs. Now, if you don't remember what the ACTs are, remember you can go back to that reference page. It's a resource. You just click that hot link, and that's author. So remember, I want you to use the name of the author, give a nod, what's the credibility, acknowledge what's the credibility of the author. In other words, what are the credentials of the author? So you may have to Google Jim Fowles to find his credentials. And then of course I want the title of the article included, and then your short summary of what the article contains. Then you're also going to provide an explanation of 2 of Fowles' 15 appeals. So you are going to choose any 2 that you want, and in your own words, not his words, you have to use your own words to explain them. So of those 15, choose 2 to explain in your own words. And then next, what you need to do is apply any of those 15 appeals you see to the ad you chose. So you're going to look at your ad, and then you're going to look at Jim's files list of 15 and see, okay, which one of these apply? And it could be one, it could be two, it could be more. Which apply to my ad and why? So remember, it's very important that you use the ad that you've chosen for your essay, because what you're doing is you're kind of building part of your essay here within this assignment. Then after you are done with that, make sure you have a works cited entry for the Jib Fowles item. So you are going to be referring ACTs for the Jib Fowles, and you are going to need the works cited because this knowledge was not in your head. You had to read and learn about it, and you had to get it from a source. This is the other reason why I pointed out those information pieces to you on the source. The front page tells you that it's an anthology. So when you go to cite, you're going to be citing from an anthology, and it was a print version, print anthology. So you also need to include editor and some other items. Now remember, to help you create your works cited page, we once again have resources for you. So let me go back here a minute. And in the resource section, just like before, so these are ongoing things. This is not new. We have the MLA items that you can click into, right? There's also frequently asked questions about citations to help you out if you want to look at them. And we do link you to those sources. So there's some citing electronic sources, references, and there are questions. If I use a signal phrase, do I need to do it? These are basically questions that have been asked in class and answered. Sometimes they're very common questions. Sometimes they're very unique. I would definitely look through here to see if your question has already been asked, and you can use this to help guide you. Of course, if you do run into a trouble, you can always email me with your question. You may also do a writing consultation on it, although I don't know that you will need to. Quite often, if you look at the resources or just simply ask me directly, we can help you, or I can help you and guide you. So I did want to point those resources out for you. The other items that I want to talk about today are the H5P videos. So you have the Jib Fowles assignment, which is to read the article, do the summary, and do a works cited with it. Don't forget the ACTs. There are two H5P videos that I also want you to do. There's the MLA 8th video. These H5P videos are meant to help introduce and expose and review and refresh you on particular citation items. So both of them are very short. They're like 3 minutes, 39 seconds. And both of them have very few questions. They have maybe 2 or 3, at the most 4 questions in each video. So they're very short. The honest purpose of them, the questions are not tough. They're not meant to be tough. They're meant to give you the works cited information and to give you in-text cited information to help refresh you so you know how to do it properly in your summarization for the Jib Fowles. And I do the questions just to simply help you out with a grade. You should not have any trouble with them at all, but I would recommend do those videos first before you do your citing and your Jib Fowles, only because I think it's going to be the most helpful to you. So I tried to click into both, and right now, for whatever reason, Moodle or something with the computer is just acting super slow. Oh, it finally pulled up. So here's a video you can see on this one, 339. There's only 4 questions. Play it through. It's meant to give you good information in a short amount of time, and it's in a video format. The reason I do these videos is because a lot of times students want the information. They don't necessarily want to read it on a web page for the resources, or they don't want to read a print form of it. So the videos are a great way to obtain information to help you understand MLA 8 as well. So I recommend you do the videos first. Then I recommend that you do the Jib Fowles assignment, which I just went over. And then finally, you're going to do the thesis. This is a super short assignment. And basically what you're doing is you're going to draft your thesis statement for your rhetorical analysis. Now, I want to point out there's a worksheet with this. You do not need to complete the worksheet. All I want is your thesis statement in the 3-sentence formula that I've given you. So the worksheet is just meant to guide you. You are not required to upload that form. You can just type up your thesis statement on a Word doc and then upload it from there. But if you didn't remember the formula, these were the instructions, and I touched on this before. It's a 3-sentence formula. In sentence 1, I want you to mention the ad, the product, and the audience of the magazine. In sentence 2, make sure you use some type of a transition word, and then you're going to give details on how the ad is appealing to the audience. This is like items from ethos, pathos, and logos. What are they using within those specifics to help try and appeal or persuade the audience? And then sentence 3, another transition word. And then make your claim on is it persuasive? You say, yes, it is persuasive to the specific audience, or if it's not persuasive to that particular audience. And then make sure you tell me what they could have done better if it's not persuasive. So as you know, both of these examples were given in our instructions, and they're just examples of the 3-sentence formula, so you have a good idea. And so the directions are very simple. You're going to create a working thesis for your ad. So you have your ad, you've examined elements of ethos, logos, and pathos, and now you've started looking at some Jib Fowles items, those 15 appeals. Those are elements of pathos, right? So create your thesis statement in sentence 1. Do sentence 1, then sentence 2, sentence 3. But then when you upload it, you're going to do 3 sentences in a row, right? It's just going to be one thesis statement containing 3 sentences. And you can see in both of these examples of flow of how it is, and transition words, whereas, therefore, right? So that it leads the reader to the next item that you're covering within your thesis statement. So although this looks large, it's really not. As I said, you're not required to upload that particular form. When you do your submission here, you simply type up your 3 on a Word doc, and that is going to be your thesis. Please remember transition words, and also keep 3 sentences in a row. You don't have to go sentence 1, sentence 2, sentence 3. If you just write them 1, 2, 3 in a row as if you were drafting it out, that will be just fine. So it looks like there's a lot this week, but there's really not. I mean, there's a lot, but they're short. How's that? So yeah, there's quite a few items, but they're each very short, very quick items, with the exception of Jib Fowles. Jib Fowles is your longest one. So my recommendation, and I probably should have done these in a different order, and I apologize, I did not do that, is I would start with the H5P videos and do both of those and get kind of familiar with the works cited and the in-text so that you understand what you're going to be doing. And then the Jib Fowles, I would read that article. I would read the article more than once. Then do your summary, and then make sure you have your works cited entry page after it. Then do your thesis based on what you're seeing, because you're going to examine your ad within the Jib Fowles assignment. So Jib Fowles assignment is probably going to take you the longest, but it shouldn't be overly time consuming for you. Now, I want to emphasize you want to do a pretty good job with this, because if you're going to be using elements of this within your essay, if you remember from the instructions, they're each section. There's a section on rhetorical appeals, logo, thesis, and pathos. There's also going to be a section addressing the Jib Fowles 15 basic appeals. So if you do a really good job with this, you are going to take elements from this and apply it to your drafting. So you'll kind of have part of it already started in your drafting for that essay in the final stages. I think I have gone over everything. So questions or concerns? Rose, where are you at in your understanding? Are you feeling comfortable? Are you feeling confused? Do you know where to go this week? How to get started? Comfort level on a scale of 1 to 10, Rose, where are you at? And then I'll ask around too. I'll hit everybody. Hannah, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your comfort level? Oh, good. So you're really solid then. Okay, excellent. How about Dakota? Where's your comfort level on a scale of 1 to 10?
7.
Okay, so pretty comfortable. And Cruz?
7.
Okay, pretty comfortable. All right. Rose, I did not see you answer in chat, but I gotta find my chat. So you probably answered. I just gotta find it. Oh, yep, there you are. You did. You answered. I just didn't see it. Okay, good. You're 7. Okay, so in a nutshell, that is what you're going to be working on this week. The other part is I do want to meet with everybody this week. So whether you attend in class or you attend virtually or you are not attending. If you are not attending either virtually or in person, I get a little worried. It will affect your financial aid. It may affect a lot of different things. However, if you are keeping current with the work and you are holding 73.4, attendance is not as big a deal. So the trick to, all of this is if you're understanding the work and you're able to do the work, and I have a lot of students who I've been meeting with either Zoom or whatever, they may not be in class face-to-face because of COVID or transportation or something, and that's totally fine. You can always meet with me one-on-one and I will help you through whatever assignment you need, but you do have to upload and keep current with work. The farther behind you get, the more difficult it is to play catch up. As I said, before the end of this week, we will be halfway through the semester. And so academic warnings go out. I want to make sure everybody's in a good place, that you're at the grade you want to be. Attend virtually. I always offer you a virtual attendance option, and that does count toward attendance, even though you're not in person. I certainly count that toward attendance. But if you are unable to do those things, I know there are some people hospitalized and those kinds of things, and they're just working at their own pace. The trick is you've got to turn in your work. So if you get stuck, make sure you reach out to me so I can help you. We either need a meeting face-to-face like Zoom, or I can answer questions via email. We want to get you current this week. So make sure you do not ignore my messages. I'm reaching out, trying to get you in a good zone. And I will be happy to work around your schedule for when you want to meet or when you can meet. That is all for the information and lecture at this point. I am going to be talking with face-to-face students, but I am going to stop recording. So let me get into my items. We're going to stop recording. If yes.